Okay, so you are going to need some ice in order to do a bacterial transformation. So if you don't have an ice machine, absolutely fine. What you can do is you can just freeze ice in ice cube trays, and then you can either smash it up like I am here, i.e. you put it in a bag and then you use something to whack it with. I find a pestle and mortar pestle works quite well. Or you can use a blender if you need lots of ice. That also works really well, breaking up the ice into crushed ice. And then you can just pop that in a pot ready for your transformation buffer and plasmid DNA. So obviously it's really important before you do any microbiology, including a bacterial transformation, to clean your workstation really well before you start. So here I'm cleaning my workstation with BioCleanse, but using Virkon is also fine, or another similar product. So once that's clear, then you can set up your workstation. So for your bacterial transformation, you're going to need a plate which you have made previously, which contains IPTG and kanamycin. Your master plate that's got your DH10B grown on it already. Your plasmid DNA, which is on ice. Pasta pipette. Your spreader. Your loop. The guide to the practical. And a timer. And then, of course, a waste pot, which contains Virkon. So the student workstation should look something like this. So before commencing, you obviously need a Bunsen burner on to keep things sterile. So I've got it on my safety flame here. Before I actually start, obviously I'm going to need to turn this to the roaring blue flame. And students need to work closely to the flame in order to ensure that what they're doing remains sterile. So firstly, you're going to need to take your loop out of its packaging, and you're going to want to do this by taking it from the handle side and not touching the loop end. You're then going to need your bacterial plate that's got the DH10B grown on it. And the fresher this plate is, the better. If you can grow it the night before the practical, that is the best. But really you don't want it much older than 48 hours old. So take a nice big scoop of bacteria on your loop so that you can visibly see the bacteria on the loop. You're then going to take out your tube, which contains your plasmid DNA and your transformation buffer, and insert the loop into this. This is all on the practical student guide, which, as I've got on the bench here, you can refer to. So you're then just going to twiddle it back and forth in your fingers until the bacteria dislodges into the solution. And you should see it come off of the loop into there, and then you'll see it in the solution. So you can then put the cap back on and put that down into the ice, and then put the used loop into the waste pot. Once you've done this, you want to give this a bit of a flick. Now, as I say, the fresher the plate is, the easier this bit is, but basically you want to try and disperse any big lumps of bacteria so that the solution just looks like a cloudy, homogeneous mixture of bacteria. And the clumps will break up much easier if the plate is as fresh as possible. So once you've done that, you're then going to pop it on ice for 15 minutes. And during that time, you can turn your Bunsen burner off and then put your water bath on to 42 degrees, ready for doing the heat shock. So the heat shock isn't on the student guide, but I would recommend it because it does increase the reaction efficiency quite significantly, and it's quite fun, I think, and it only adds on a couple of minutes to your time. So if you've got a foam floater like this, you can use one of these. If you haven't, it's fine. You can just hold your tube into the 42 degree water bath. So all you're going to do is it just needs to go in for 35 seconds. And during this time, what's happening is the pores in the bacterial cells are opening, and that's allowing the plasmid DNA to enter more easily. So once 35 seconds has passed, you then put your plasmid tubes back on ice for 2 minutes. And then you're ready to do your plating out stage. So as I say, it doesn't add actually very much time at all. So once that 2 minutes is over, you're then ready to plate out your transformed bacteria onto your selective plate. So these are plates that contain kanamycin and IPTG. So once again, obviously we're going to need our Bunsen burner to keep everything sterile while we're plating out our bacteria. And then that needs to go onto a roaring blue flame again. So you're going to take out your pasta pipette from its sterile packaging, and again, only touching the bulb end, not the end that's going to come in contact with the bacteria. So you're going to take up the bacteria, make sure your plate is agar side down. You're going to take your bacteria up into the pasta pipette, and then you're going to put 3 to 4 drops onto the middle of the plate, just holding the lid to one side to allow you to do this. And then all waste, the tube and the pasta pipette goes into your waste pot. You're then going to take your spreader out, again from the handle end, not from the spreader end. So no touching the spreader bit. And then that is going to be used to spread out the bacteria that you've just pipetted on all over the plate so that you get good coverage. Again, obviously this is nice and close to the Bunsen burner, so this whole area around here should be sterile. And then waste spreader into the waste pot. And then what you're going to do is you're just going to put a few bits of tape around so that the plate can't be opened again. Importantly, obviously, don't tape all the way around the plate because you don't want to cause an anaerobic environment. So once you've done this, then obviously importantly, if you haven't already labelled your plate, it's really important to label your plate with your name, the date and what you've done. So that everybody knows whose plate is whose when they've grown over the next 24 to 48 hours. And that is then ready to go into the incubator. So what we would always recommend is actually putting them in the incubator agar side down for half an hour or so, just to allow them to dry. And that again just gives you some better results. And then once that's happened, then turning them so that they're agar side up to then grow over the next 24 to 48 hours. So I'm just going to pop this then into our 37-degree incubator. And then that's going to stay there for half an hour. I'm going to put a timer on for half an hour, and then I'm going to flip them over so that then they're agar side up overnight. So time to then turn the Bunsen burner off. And then obviously, really importantly, at the end of any microbiology session, just as we did at the beginning, give your workstation a good clean with your Vercon or BioCleanse or whatever it is you're using to clean your workstations. And then obviously, really importantly as well, everyone should wash their hands at the end. So 24 to 48 hours later, the results, exciting times. And you can see here we've got some nice GFP bacteria, which are glowing beautifully green with the use of one of our UV torches. And please do share your results at NatBiotech on X or Instagram. Thank you.